Hello, my name is Jay, and welcome back to my Tech Vault. Today we're going to be building a Minecraft server computer for the cost of hosting it online for 1 month. So what we're going to do today is, instead of someone that would go out and spend, I don't know, 15 bucks or something for a Minecraft server, we're going to try building that server so you can actually physically have it. Now there's a lot of reasons why you should do this. I'll explain them in a second, but let's see how much we got to work with. How much do we have for 1 month of hosting? Okay, so let's see what the budget we have to work with. Minecraft server host. So we're looking at a lovely budget. Oh, first thing we see is GG servers. Funny thing over here I see is we have some Minecraft server options from some people. What we're going to do at the end of this video is we're going to actually take one of these. We're going to take that $420 that they think that it would cost to build a Minecraft server. Now we're going to go on PC Part Picker, a lovely little website that lets you kind of plan out PC builds before you buy them. And we're going to build a PC that's like 5 times more powerful than that for 420 bucks, brand new. So let's see how much we have to work with just for this PC though that we're building, just for 1 month of hosting. So Minecraft hosting, GG servers. So there is going to be someone in the comments that goes, oh, well, these are overpriced. You can get this somewhere else. And obviously there's going to be someone else in the comments be like, oh no, this is way too cheap. So we're just going to pick this one. There's Pebble Host, which does $1 a gigabyte. There's this one that does like $3 a gigabyte. For the sake of this video, this one's kind of in the middle, and to give me at least an average amount of money to work with for 25 bucks to build a PC with, it kind of really does need to have a decent budget. So this is Diamond. This is a 24 buck, 8 gigabyte of RAM, yeah, PC, and it looks like that the CPU is an Intel i7 7700K at 5 gigahertz. You got some decent, yeah, you've got some decent stuff right here. So, yeah, pretty much what this is actually standard is probably what we're looking at, and if you wanted to turn on to premium, switch to premium, you're looking at that 50 bucks. And later on, I'll talk about how that difference between the 25 bucks to the 50 bucks pretty much means that you'll see probably a double the performance increase. So I definitely recommend taking a look at that, because really, if you want to spend 50 bucks for a month still of hosting, you could get an i7, a bunch of cool stuff that would upgrade it even farther. So really, this switch right here is also representative of what you can do to switch. So let's hop in, let's build this PC real quick, and then at the end of the video we'll go through and we'll disprove this lovely little $420 computer that it was on the front, because I think that's absolutely hilarious. So a little bit background about myself. I actually ran a little server hosting business, one of the online ones, for probably about a year. And obviously it was fun and all, and I learned a lot, but that's kind of my background. I know what I'm talking about. So this should be a really fun experience for both of us, because this is something that you can save a lot of money, especially if you plan on running a server in the long run. Now I do caution people against a few things. First off, big public servers are a bad idea, and let me explain why. If you're unfamiliar, denial of service attacks are basically where someone spams or sends lots of requests, or basically bombards your server with a lot of information that it really can't handle. Now, it usually gets caught up somewhere else, but for the most part, you don't want that, because not really anyone can be prepared for that when you're hosting at home. Especially when you host from someone else, it's their problem, let them worry about it, and they usually have a lot more infrastructure. Now, that being said, it doesn't happen too often, and really, as long as you're nobody important or not like a really, really big server with, I don't know, 300 people on it, you should be fine. Especially for today's video, we're going to be going for something that can just host a couple people, probably no more than 20 to 30 people at a time, which obviously if you're having a small server, that's a really good amount. Also, this server is not going to be something that I would recommend, playing with a lot of people, as I said. I wouldn't make it public too public, especially if you're like a YouTuber or somebody that's going to be constantly on there and advertising it. I would recommend against that, just because it's a really bad idea to have something, especially linked to your home address, if you're really going to be getting a lot of spotlight. Now, if you're fine with that and those two things you're good with, well, today you've come to the right place, because today we're going to actually be building one. So a couple things to note. First off, with I think the 24 bucks, we've actually got a little wiggle room to work with. Now, I'm going to be talking about a few things, because especially when you go out to build a computer, and especially when it's going to be on all the time, yes, you can build a server for 24 bucks. I think you could do it just fine if you were just to turn it on every once in a while. I think that'd be fine. But if you really wanted to get something a little bit nicer, I'd say look into it, because for 24 bucks a month, that's 8 gigabytes of RAM. That's a good, decent server, and I definitely think we could replicate an 8 gigabyte server with, you know, of course, a CPU, all that stuff to run a good, decent server. But I do think that if you were to instead look at it from like a year standpoint with $300 or something, that's a huge bit of money to buy a server with. And I definitely think that that would be a whole nother video on its own. I'm also going to talk about some recommended upgrades, because this server is going to be great. You're going to be able to play on it. You're going to have just fine, but you're going to notice a little bit of lag issues some places. So I want to make sure I also highlight how you can spend a little bit more money and also upgrade your server so that it runs a little bit better. So first off, here's what we're shooting for. And ideally a 4-core processor. This can be an i5, which pretty much just means that you have 2 cores for running the operating system, probably Windows or Linux. Those are the 2 most popular. For the people that are watching this video, most likely you just want to set up a server real quick, and you're not going to be doing really advanced server. You're not going to host multiple servers at the same time. So I would recommend, just for the kind of the audience that's watching this video, I'd say go with Windows. Stick with Windows. It's a quick, easy install. Now, for people that are a little bit more advanced, that want to host maybe multiple of these, which may not be more power efficient, but if you want to go with that, then there's a whole long list of control panels that Ubuntu has to offer. Back when I did the server hosting business, we used to use a whole bunch of variations of Ubuntu, have it all set up on the web panel and things like that. So that was its own separate beast. But for most people that are watching this video, for the audience, it's definitely going to be Windows for you guys. So another thing is, Windows you don't have to pay any money for if you just get an unlicensed key. And you just load that up and you'll be fine. You don't need a license, especially if it's not going to be something you see with it bothered and see it and bothering you in the corner. Now, a couple things to note though is I'm going to shoot for 8 gigabytes of RAM. 8 gigabytes of RAM is a good amount because it leaves 2 gigabytes for the operating system. Basically, anytime you do server hosting, you have to think of it as 2 levels. Technically, you have the Minecraft server itself, and then you have what it's being hosted on, which is like the physical server. And you want to leave some resources for that, just so that it doesn't get bogged up with a bunch of other, pull from your Minecraft server. You want dedicated 6 gigabytes of RAM. So yes, the Minecraft server is going to have 8 gigabytes of RAM, same as what you'd pay for 24 bucks, so according to GG servers or whatever. But you're not going to be especially getting access to all of that. And that's actually the same for a lot of hosts. A lot of hosts advertise, oh yeah, you get access to 16 gigabytes of RAM, but in reality, you do actually only get like 12 or something, just so it has some allotted for the operating system itself. So that being said, a couple of notes to consider when you're upgrading. What some of the things that you want to take a look at, some of the things if you want to upgrade farther down the road. First off, I'd say is RAM is good. A faster processor itself also goes a long way, but SSDs, or solid state drives, are also a really good way to improve performance. Especially when you're going, a lot of the common updates recently in Minecraft have allowed you to fly around, and this is done by Elytra. And so when people fly around really fast, there is some issues with some chunk loading, especially when you have maybe 5 or 6 people doing it at the same time. Now this can be relatively resolved quite quickly by getting an SSD. This allows for more data to be pulled from the drive quickly, so when you're loading massive amounts of data or you're loading lots of chunks, therefore you can load them quicker with a solid state drive. Now, if you notice block lag and things like that, that may simply just be due to the processor being slow. And obviously with this kind of budget, that usually occurs probably around 12 to 15 players is probably when you might start noticing that, if you all are doing different things at the same time. Now, there's a whole long list of things you can do to upgrade that. Get an i7, you can get some more cores. Pretty much, there's a good bit of range that you have for a budget that you can upgrade a few things, but for the most part, you would not spend, even if you did all these upgrades in this video, you'd probably be looking at 50 bucks. It's not crazy. 50 bucks would probably be something you could get a server that would last probably for the next 5 years. You could play on it for, if you just had one. So that will be the little really quick rundown of what to consider for when you're buying the server. Let's actually build one now. And I also plan on testing the server in a second. We'll load it up, see if we can get Minecraft running on it, and see exactly how well it performs. So here is a PC that I've got for the 24 buck budget range, and this is a pretty solid server actually. One of the sad notes though is I only have 2 500 gigabyte drives, which means that hard drives, which means it's not an SSD, which you'll definitely notice that hit on performance. But a couple things I just want to note, actually personal things I'd like to note, is this case was from the original $75 budget PC that I did on this channel. It was the first ever budget PC that I did, And this case, means a lot to me, and it's kind of going away now because I have a friend of mine who doesn't have a PC currently, and he really does deserve one. So I've actually got a graphics card that's actually going in there. This is a PC that will be going to him, but for the purpose of this video, it also is 24 bucks that we will be showcasing the parts of it and what I was able to get. But this is the graphics card that's going to be going in it so he can actually play games. And even on a side note, I'm actually upgrading the CPU as well to an i7, so he gets those 8 processing threads as well. Now, this whole little thing is probably going to end up costing me probably roughly 60 bucks, but for the purpose of this video, 24 bucks between, the graphics card, not the i7, some other things that I'm taking out, this is 24 bucks. So let's talk about a little bit about what the hardware inside of this is. The case itself, you don't actually need a case. You can leave it out. For servers, you like to kind of have them so they don't collect dust, because when they're running for a long time, you don't want things shorting out, catching fire. And a good case with a good dust filter can really go a long way. But for the most part, 24 bucks just for the motherboard, power supply, drives, RAM, CPU, all those things is really good. So let's talk about this. First off, we've got an 80 plus rated power supply. I think I actually was able to get this for like 3 or 4 bucks. And usually I would caution against getting really cheap power supplies, but this one's kind of got good paint or plastic dip coating on it, and it's also rated 80 plus. So it's not bad at all. If you have no name on your power supply, if you also don't have a rating, that's not the best idea to be running. So in this lovely bit of hardware, we have an Intel i5 760, which is a 4-core, 2.6 gigahertz processor. And this one really does quite decent. It's a first gen, but one thing to keep in mind is when you're doing Minecraft, the cores itself don't matter a lot. CPU usage, doesn't actually end up being a lot. Mostly it's the RAM, and Minecraft servers like RAM a lot. And for RAM, we have 8 gigabytes total. We actually have two 2 gigabyte sticks and one 4 gigabyte stack, and these are pretty much just running normally. It's actually a pretty solid system, without a doubt, and no worries whatsoever. I'm just waiting on the CPU to get here. We have an Intel stock cooler. This is pretty cheap. You can find them for like 5 or 6 bucks. The motherboard and CPU, I believe I paid like 10 bucks for, so what is that, 20 bucks? And then the drives I was able to snag really cheap as well, I think for the last 5 bucks. So that has been the whole little build of it. Let me set this up real quick. Let's hop on it and play a little bit of Minecraft just to see what it kind of looks like. So if I were to recommend some upgrades first off, and also where you can find some of these parts, because that's obviously why you're watching this video. First off, the first upgrade I'd say is get an SSD drive. They're like 20 bucks. 128 gigabyte SSD drive will be more than enough for just one server. And you'll notice probably about a 50% increase in just the performance. It will be quite faster. Things will be a little bit more snappier. The next thing I'd say is also upgrade your CPU. If you get a first gen motherboard, the CPUs for an Intel i7 can be 20 bucks. You can get 20 bucks to upgrade the CPU, and then you get 8 processing threads. You'll notice also a lot more better performance sometimes, especially when you have a lot of people loading things. And also with the single threaded clock speed you may actually get a little bit better performance that way as well with the higher clock speed. So that would be the whole little showcase. After the RAM, you could also consider upgrading the RAM to 16 gigabytes. You may notice a big difference if you had around maybe 30 to 40 people on the server at the time. But for the most part, you may not notice this. Now, if you wanted to consider doing mods or upgrading and doing, modded servers, things like that, this actually would run good probably till around 10 players. If you had 10 players on at the same time, you might notice some lag. And if you had 10 players on at most of the time, I consider probably upgrading the CPU, to an SSD, and also getting probably 16 gigabytes of RAM, which all would have cost you probably around 50 bucks. These motherboards, especially these first gen motherboards, are going really cheap recently, so also something to consider. And you do not need a graphics card, because since we are just doing server and CPU tasks, graphics cards themselves usually come into handy when you're doing gaming. If you want to consider gaming on this computer as well, that wouldn't be something you'd be able to do at the same time, even with an Intel i7, just because of the fact that the CPU-intensive tasks along with playing Minecraft and things like that would not work at the same time. So I'd recommend not even getting a graphics card if you have an Intel CPU, because the Intel CPU lets you go through and get pass-through graphics. And honestly, if you get the integrated graphics, it saves you money, and it's not really that painful to not have a graphics card, because you're not really going to need one. So let's hop on here. Let me set this up real quick. I'm actually going to throw this graphics card back in there just so this is ready for my friend. But I am actually going to be upgrading this to an Intel i7, and I'll be putting this graphics card in there. But that's everything else is going to be the same, and I'm going to be giving this PC away to him next weekend. So if you want to watch that video, I think he kind of knows. But it's a PC for him, so he can actually have one as well. It's actually a pretty solid system when it's done. So I definitely consider watching that video if you're interested for that as well. But let's hop over to Minecraft. Let's see how well this thing performs. You guys like Minecraft? I like Minecraft too. So I've got over here my server. Now, oh boy, there's some people on there on the other one. So one of the things is I had a laptop that I've been using, something I got a really good deal. It's missing some parts, but the CPU is great on it. So I've been using it to host this. But I moved over my Minecraft server. This is a little SMP server that I've had for roughly about 5 years now. So a little bit of background behind me though. As I said, I did Minecraft server hosting. And then one of the things I got into was actually, and I think that was almost 6 years ago, but back in high school, I got into Minecraft server hosting and did that as kind of like a little side business that I'd make my money. Instead of doing like a high school job, I just kind of made my own server hosting business. Had a couple people that worked for me, and we had a fun time doing that. But for the most part, this was one of the things that came out of it as we started playing on a Minecraft server in survival. And this has stayed survival for 5 years, so everyone can still get achievements on this. I haven't, the advancements have changed recently, so it's kind of different. I used to have all the achievements unlocked, and then they added a bunch of them, so I have to go through and sit down and unlock them all again. But for the most part, we've got ourselves a lot of good stuff on here, and we've got a lot of the automatic farms too. But this is just some of the people that played on here, and honestly, we're at day, I think, 27, 34, 4, so just crazy amounts of days so far. But as you can clearly see, this is just some of the cool things that have been done. We've actually had some individuals as well that have passed away during the time of this world, which is kind of sad, but they've basically contributed. This is actually something that someone's done, but they passed away, and so some of the stuff that's contributed has kind of been their life's work, I guess, if that's kind of the way of saying it. But yeah, so we've built a lot of stuff on here, and you know, this is actually running on the server as well that we just built. But as you can see, I'm flying around having no issues. But yeah, so we built like huge amounts of crazy stuff. And honestly, it's quite impressive that, you know, it's all managed to stick around for the time, especially staying survival and stuff. We've got some insane builds, and this is just my town. Everything that you see is what I've built over the last 5 years. There are people that are actually on, one of the other dudes on currently, that have actually gone through and built stuff even farther. They've built huge towns just about the same size. So if you're interested in joining, I'll put information for that down in the description as well if you're interested in joining that. But as you can see, it's just completely crazy. I've got like mad amounts of chests and stuff in here, but still, I've got some gold. I probably should get that out of there because, yeah, I probably want that gold. But yeah, so as you can see, just crazy amounts of stuff that people have done. This is everything that I've just done. But yeah, so if you want to hop on, there'll be information in the description, be a Discord server and an application and stuff if you're interested in that. Jump down here real quick because this is always fun. But yeah, so check that out. But let's go real quick, hop back over, and let's actually build ourselves that $420 PC. But as you saw, no issues with the server itself. It's able to open chests, all that good stuff, just fine. So let's just hop real quick over and build ourselves a $420 PC that, well, on PC Part Picker, and see how much of a rip-off that one actually is. So real quick, over here, this $420 server, just to click on it, it looks like it's got an Intel i7, i5, or i3. So we've got that, and we've got options up to 32 gigabytes of RAM. So I've got myself a clean PC Part Picker template. Ideally, I want to go for a 1700. I think these have actually gotten a little bit more expensive. I was actually selling my 1700X for like 130 bucks. So it was, actually I still have it, but that's what I was trying to sell it for, but still 130 bucks is actually what it's worth. But for the purpose of today's video, we're going to try doing all stuff that's easily found online. Let's do 1,600, which is 104 bucks. Now, really, you could always spend that extra bucks, get the extra cores. You could probably host an additional 2 Minecraft servers if you were just to spend the additional 30 bucks. So we've got a CPU cooler included with the processor. Let's get a motherboard. Let's get the cheapest B350 motherboard that we got. Get the cheapest one. Hasrock is always a good brand. Grab some memory. Let's do a 3000. Let's do 3000. Let's do 8 gigabytes set. get the cheapest that we can grab. So this is cast 16. Yeah, that's a pretty solid price right there as well. Yeah, that's going to be pretty good. So there we got storage. Let's add ourselves a SSD real quick. Grab that, get that SSD down, and we've got ourselves, let's grab a 240 gig. I think that's what we probably would need, 240 gig, just to have some backups of some stuff. So there we go. We're looking at what price is that? 340 bucks. Let's add a case. We don't need a case actually. Cases would actually be surprisingly something you don't necessarily need. Let's see if we grab one with a power supply, then we'd even be even better off. Yeah, what we got here? 50 bucks. This one comes with a 300 watt power supply. That's good right there. So yeah, we got a power supply included. We got an SSD. We've got, yeah, that's all the goodies that we need. Operating system, we don't need to do anything. You can get Linux now since you have a couple extra servers running. And let's add a video card because the Ryzen 1600 does not have a default video card. Let's find rather a cheap one. I'm thinking really we're going to find something that's relatively cheap. Probably want to find something that's also kind of new. I don't want to spend a whole lot of money on this. So you can get really cheap graphics cards in a lot of ways. I get a GeForce GT 7. What does that leave us at price at? That's actually slightly above. But really, I could go buy one of the cheapest ones, and that would be, yeah, that's for the purposes of this video. That's roughly. I mean, heck, you can get one used. I'm selling like some for like 20 bucks, so that's not really that big of a deal. So that's kind of overpriced. Especially, I wouldn't pay that for that card, especially brand new. But that's what you're looking at for about 420 bucks. You have a server that can host this whole little box right here. By the way, would be able to host probably, I don't know, you'd be looking at maybe 5-6 Minecraft servers with 32 gigabytes of RAM. You wouldn't have any issues. It wouldn't be laggy, and it's actually better than well, of course, the Minecraft 1 month hosting, but also this thing right here. Also, that 1 month of Minecraft hosting for 24 bucks, or if you were to do 50 bucks, and you were to do that for a year, this would be a much better deal, because obviously I don't know what that calculates out to, probably like 600 some bucks. But still, if you had 600 bucks to spend, you could probably get something way better than this. I'd go for a higher end CPU, probably get 64 gigabytes of RAM. You would have no problem whatsoever running a lot of Minecraft servers. So yeah, that has been this lovely little video showing you that really Minecraft servers, if you're just hosting yourself and some buddies, it is probably best to actually go out and get a budget one and host it yourself, because you'll save money even with power and all that stuff. But I also talked about, again, that there are some exceptions that you should not host it at home, to have someone else do that and deal with all that problems and stress that may arise. Thank you guys very much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Give it a like, helps me out, helps this video get more popular, helps me make more videos like this, and tells me you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys very much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you guys around soon. Goodbye.